Okay, so you're thinking about hiring a Silex developer
Yeah.
for your next web project. Awesome.
Yeah.
They are masters of building lean and efficient applications, especially APIs, using the Silex microframework. And if you're all about clean, efficient code, you are definitely on the right track.
Absolutely.
But finding the right developer, that can be tricky.
It can.
Yeah, to make sure you are crystal clear on what you need. Jump over to theperfectdeveloper.com and try the 5 questions tool. Seriously, it's a game changer.
It is.
Now, I know you probably have some big questions.
Yeah, you probably do.
Like, what's so special about Silex developers? What skills should you be looking for? How much is this all going to cost?
Those are great questions.
Yeah.
And luckily, we can get some answers from theperfectdeveloper.com. They have a playbook packed with insights into finding and hiring the right developers.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. For example, you might assume all PHP developers are created equal. But that's not the case. Silex developers stand out for their focus on speed and efficiency, but also because they are comfortable integrating Silex with other systems.
So it's about more than just knowing PHP. What other skills are essential?
Well, you want someone who's a rock star with PHP, obviously. Right. But they also need experience building APIs and strong problem-solving skills.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And because Silex uses components from the Symfony framework under the hood, that knowledge is a huge plus.
Okay, so the Symfony thing is intriguing. Can you break that down a bit more for me?
Sure.
Like, how does knowing Symfony actually benefit me in a Silex project?
Think of it this way. Silex uses Symfony for things like routing requests and managing dependencies.
That's it.
So if your developer knows Symfony, they can really dive deep and customize your app, troubleshoot issues faster, and just generally be more efficient. It's a force multiplier for their Silex skills.
Okay, cool. So let's talk money. The Playbook has a salary chart, but I bet those ranges are pretty broad.
Oh, yeah.
What factors affect the cost of a Silex developer?
You're right. Those ranges are broad for a reason. You've got experience level, obviously,
Wow.
but also the scope of your project. A simple API is going to cost less than a complex web application.
Makes sense.
And don't forget about location. A junior developer in Asia is going to have a very different rate than a senior developer in the US.
Right, of course. We have to consider the freelance versus full-time dilemma.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Freelance rates seem to be all over the place. I've seen anywhere from $20 an hour to over $100.
Wow.
How do you even navigate that?
Well, the playbook dives into the pros and cons of each approach, and it really boils down to your specific needs. If you've got a long-term project that requires deep team integration, full-time might be your best bet.
That makes sense. But what if I have a tight budget or need more flexibility?
Then part-time or freelance could be a good fit,
Yes.
or if you lack in-house resources, or have a one-off project. Outsourcing might be the answer.
Wow. So many options to consider. There's clearly a lot to unpack here when it comes to hiring Silex developers. I think it's time to dive a little deeper into the hiring process. Where to find these developers and how to pick the right one for the job.
Let's do it. So let's assume you've decided Silex is the right tool for your project. Now, the big question is, where do you actually find these talented developers?
Right. It's not like they're all hanging out on LinkedIn with Silex gurus in their profiles, although that would be pretty convenient.
Wouldn't that be nice? Luckily, the folks at theperfectdeveloper.com offer some great advice. They suggest casting a wide net. Think freelancing platforms for short-term needs or a quick turnaround. Sites like Upwork and TopTal are great for that.
Makes sense. What about for those really specialized roles?
You can often find experts by tapping into developer communities, like GitHub or Stack Overflow. Looking at their contributions to open source projects can tell you a lot about their skills.
So basically, stalk their code, see what they're capable of, and then slide into their DMs. Just kidding. But seriously, checking out their code seems like a smart way to get a feel for their style and problem-solving abilities.
It really is. And of course, you can never go wrong with traditional job boards like Indeed or LinkedIn, especially when you're looking to fill a full-time role.
Okay, so let's say I've posted my job and I've got a stack of resumes. How do I sift through all those applications and separate the rock stars from the, well, let's just say less experienced developers?
Here's where things get interesting. It's not enough to just check if they can code. You want someone who can think critically, understand your goals, and come up with elegant solutions. ThePerfectDeveloper.com emphasizes the value of a multifaceted approach. Review their portfolio, give them a technical test, and have a good old-fashioned conversation.
So it's about more than just checking boxes. You're really trying to assess if they're a good fit for your specific needs
Exactly. The technical skills are important. But the interview is where you really get a sense of those soft skills. Communication, teamwork, problem solving, the things that can make or break a project.
Yeah, I've learned that lesson the hard way. I once hired a developer who was technically brilliant,
Yeah.
but couldn't communicate to save his life. It was a nightmare. That's when I realized you can have all the technical skills in the world, but if you can't explain your ideas or work effectively with a team, it's going to be a struggle.
That's such a great point, and it leads perfectly into our next topic, onboarding. Once you've found the right developer, how do you set them up for success, especially if you're working with a remote team?
ThePerfectDeveloper.com has a whole section in their playbook about this, right? It's not just about throwing them into the deep end and hoping for the best.
Absolutely. Clear communication is key. And it starts with the onboarding process. Make sure they have access to all the tools and documentation they need. Assign them a mentor or a buddy to help them get up to speed.
I love that buddy system idea. It can make such a difference in helping someone feel welcome and get integrated quickly.
It really can. And remember, communication shouldn't stop after onboarding. Regular feedback and open dialogue are crucial throughout the entire project. Keep your developer in the loop. And don't be afraid to ask for their input.
This is all incredibly helpful. Before we move on, are there any common challenges people face when specifically hiring Silex developers? And how can they avoid those pitfalls?
One challenge is simply finding experienced developers. Since Silex is a niche framework, you also need to make sure their skills align with your specific tech stack. And as we've touched on, communication can be tricky, especially with remote teams.
So how do you navigate those potential problems?
It can be tricky, but with the right approach, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. ThePerfectDeveloper.com really stresses the importance of thorough vetting. Don't just skim resumes. Dive deep into their experience. Ask for code samples. Conduct technical tests. And don't forget to check references.
So it's about looking beyond the surface, making sure their experience aligns with your needs, and that they genuinely understand your vision.
Precisely. And that goes for both sides. Clear communication from the outset is key to setting expectations and avoiding misunderstandings down the line. Be upfront about your project's scope, your timelines, and your budget.
And be a good listener, too,
Ah,
right? Make sure you understand the developer's concerns and feedback.
absolutely. It's a two-way street. A successful collaboration is built on mutual respect and open communication.
That's so true.
But even with all the right precautions, sometimes things just feel off. What are some red flags to watch out for during the hiring process?
Yeah, beyond the technical skills and experience, what are those gut feelings telling you?
Well, for starters, a lack of enthusiasm or curiosity about your project can be a warning sign. You want someone who's genuinely excited about what you're building, not just looking for another gig.
You want to make sure they care about your project
Right.
as much as you do.
Exactly.
It's about finding that synergy, that shared vision that drives a successful collaboration.
Yeah.
You want someone who's going to be a true partner
Yeah.
in bringing your ideas to life.
Exactly. Another red flag is poor communication. If they struggle to explain their thought process or are unresponsive to your questions, it could indicate trouble down the line.
Oh, for sure.
And be wary of overly confident developers who claim they can do it all, no matter the challenge.
A healthy dose of confidence is great, but arrogance can be a recipe for disaster.
It really can.
You want someone who's realistic about their abilities, willing to learn, and adaptable to new challenges.
Couldn't agree more. Now let's flip the script for a moment. Let's say you're the Silex developer, trying to land your dream gig. What advice would you give to stand out from the competition?
Ooh, I like this perspective. So I'm the developer. I'm a Silex whiz. How do I catch the eye of those awesome hiring managers?
First and foremost, showcase your passion for Silex. Highlight projects in your portfolio that demonstrate your deep understanding of the framework.
So don't just list the projects, though, right? Tell the story behind them. What challenges did you overcome? What creative solutions did you come up with? Make your work come alive.
You got it. And never underestimate the power of soft skills. Be prepared to talk about your communication style, how you approach teamwork, and your ability to adapt to new challenges. These are all things that set you apart as a well-rounded and valuable asset to any team.
This has been such a great deep dive into the world of Silex development. I think we've covered a ton of ground. Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap things up?
Hiring a developer is an investment in your project's success, and finding the right Silex developer can be a game changer. Take the time to define your needs, do your research, ask the right questions, and most importantly, trust your gut.
I love that. Trust your gut. And of course, if you need help navigating the world of developer hiring, head over to theperfectdeveloper.com. Their resources and tools can be a lifesaver.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
With a brand new topic to explore.